Churi had memorized every page of the Death World Species Manual. She had studied the photographs, the diagrams, the chemical compositions. She had prepared herself for anything. She was not prepared for this. The human doctor reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small bottle. Churi's four stomachs twisted when she saw the symbols on the label. Universal warnings. Skull and crossbones. The galactic sign for corrosive material. Then the human tilted his head back, held the bottle above his face, and squeezed drops of the liquid directly into his open eyes. Churi screamed. The sound that came from her throat was not professional. It was not the calm response of a trained medical student. It was the raw terror of a creature watching another creature die. She threw herself at the human, trying to knock the bottle away. "No, stop. What are you doing?" The human stumbled backward, blinking rapidly. He looked at her with complete confusion. What's wrong?" "Your eyes. The acid. We need to flush them immediately." Churi was already reaching for the emergency wash station on the wall. "Acid." The human looked at the bottle in his hand. "These are just eye drops." My eyes were dry. The door burst open. 3 security officers rushed in with weapons drawn. Behind them came more medical staff, their faces pale with fear. "We heard screaming," the lead officer said. "Is the human attacking?" "No," Churi shouted. "He's hurting himself." He put acid in his eyes. The human stood in the middle of the chaos, still holding his little bottle, looking around at everyone like they had all lost their minds. He blinked a few more times. His eyes looked perfectly normal, clear and healthy and completely undamaged. "I really don't understand what's happening," he said. Commander Orinth pushed through the crowd. The Bravani station commander was tall, covered in crystalline scales that caught the light. His voice carried the weight of 30 years of authority. "Everyone calm down. Dr. Aldridge, explain yourself." "I used eye drops," the human said. "The recycled air on this station is very dry. It irritates my eyes, so I use drops to keep them comfortable. Humans do this all the time." Orinth turned to Churi. "You said he used acid? Look at the bottle." Churi pointed with a shaking hand. "Those are hazard warnings. That substance is corrosive." The security officer closest to the human scanned the bottle with his device. The reading appeared on the wall screen for everyone to see. The room went silent. "Boric acid compound," the officer read slowly. "Warning, causes severe tissue necrosis in 94% of known species. Fatal upon contact with mucous membranes." Everyone took a step back from the human. Everyone except Churi, who was frozen in place. The human looked at the screen. Then he looked at the bottle. Then he shrugged. "Well, yes," he said. "Boric acid. It's very gentle. Humans have used it for centuries. We put it in eye washes, wound cleaners, even baby products." "Gentle." Orinth's crystalline scales flickered with stress colors. "That substance would blind any other species in this room within seconds. It would eat through their eye tissue and continue into their brain. But it doesn't do that to humans," the human said. "Our eyes can handle it. The concentration is very low. It's actually quite soothing." Churi finally found her voice. "You put something that kills 94% of all known species directly into your eyes because it feels nice?" "Yes." The human seemed genuinely uncertain why this was strange. Is that not normal?" Nobody answered. The security team slowly lowered their weapons. They did not know what to do with this information. The human had not attacked anyone. He had not broken any rules. He had simply performed a basic act of self-care that would count as suicide for almost every other species in the galaxy. Orinth dismissed the security team. The medical staff drifted away, whispering to each other. Soon only Churi, Orinth, and the human remained. "Dr. Aldridge," Orinth said carefully, "you are the first human to serve on this station. I accepted your assignment because the Galactic Medical Council believes human knowledge could benefit our work here. But I need you to understand something. Of course, Commander, what you just did would kill me. It would kill Churi. It would kill almost everyone you will work with here." Orinth paused. "You need to warn people before you do things like this." The human nodded. "I understand. I apologize for the confusion. I didn't realize." He trailed off, looking at the bottle again. I've been using these since I was a child. I never thought about how it might look to others. Shuri was still staring at him. Her scientific mind was racing now, fear slowly transforming into fascination. What other things did humans do casually that would kill everyone else? What other poisons did they treat as medicine? She had studied the Death World Species Manual. But clearly, the manual had not included everything. Dr. Aldridge, she said, what else do humans put in their bodies? The human thought about it. Well, we use acids to digest our food. Our stomachs contain hydrochloric acid strong enough to dissolve metal. And we eat acidic foods all the time. Lemons, oranges, tomatoes, vinegar. Churi felt dizzy. The human smiled kindly at her. Maybe we should sit down. I can explain more about human biology if you're interested. She was interested. She was terrified. She was both at once. This was going to be a very educational assignment. 3 days had passed since the eye drop incident. 3 days since word spread across Station Harmony. 7 that the new human doctor was casually immune to substances that could melt faces. Churi sat in Commander Orntha's office, her data pad filled with notes. Beside her, Dr. Ben Aldridge waited patiently, still holding the same small bottle that had caused so much panic. He had promised not to use it in public anymore, but he refused to throw it away. I need answers, Ornt said. His crystalline scales were dull today, a sign of stress and sleeplessness. Half my medical staff has requested transfers. They don't want to work alongside someone who treats poison as a medicine. I understand their concern, Ben said, but I'm not dangerous to them. The acid doesn't jump from my eyes to attack others. That's not the point. Ornt turned to his terminal and entered a long security code. I'm accessing the restricted Death World Species database. I need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Shuri leaned forward. The Death World database was legendary. It contained detailed information about the most dangerous planets in the galaxy and the terrifying creatures that survived on them. Earth was listed in the top 10. She had always wanted to see the full files, the screen filled with data. Ornt began reading aloud. Humans. Origin, Earth Sol System. Classification, Class 4 Death World Species. Average lifespan, 70 to 90 standard years. He paused. That's remarkably long for a Death World creature. We're stubborn, Ben said with a small smile. Ornt continued. Biological features of note. His voice slowed as he read. Humans produce hydrochloric acid internally for digestion. Stomach acid pH ranges from 1 to 3, capable of dissolving most organic matter and some metals. Churi's pen stopped moving. Humans regularly consume acidic substances for nutrition and pleasure. Ornt read. Common examples include citrus fruits, fermented vegetables, and a beverage called coffee with pH levels around 5. I love coffee, Ben said. I miss it actually. The station doesn't stock any. Ornt ignored him. Humans apply acidic compounds directly to their skin for cosmetic purposes. Common treatments include glycolic acid peels, salicylic acid applications, and various fruit acid mixtures. Wait, Churi interrupted. You burn your own skin? On purpose? For beauty. It removes dead skin cells, Ben explained. Makes the skin look younger and healthier. It tingles a bit, but it's quite nice. Churi wrote this down. She underlined it twice. Ornt kept reading. Each new fact was worse than the last. Humans swam in salt water that would cause chemical burns in most species. They ate a plant called a chili pepper that contained a compound designed specifically to cause pain. They drank alcohol, a substance that killed bacteria and small organisms, and they did it recreationally. For fun. At parties. This is insane, Ornt muttered. How does your species still exist? We're adaptable, Ben said. Earth is a harsh place. Everything there tries to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the water. We evolved to handle it. You evolved to gargle poison. Essentially, yes. The office door chimed. A young Bravani officer entered, looking nervous. Commander, there's a situation in the docking bay. A cargo ship just arrived. They have wounded. Send them to the medical bay, Ornt said. Standard procedure. The officer hesitated. Sir, it's not standard. They're victims of a Nethrak attack. Acid burns. Severe ones. The room temperature seemed to drop. Everyone knew about the Nethrak, pirate raiders who used concentrated acid as their signature weapon. They sprayed it on their victims, leaving wounds that never stopped burning. No known medicine could neutralize Nethrak acid. Victims either died slowly or lived in constant agony. How many victims? Orinth asked quietly. 12. Solinari traders. They were transporting medical supplies when the Nethrak hit them. The officer's voice cracked. Sir, some of them are children. Churi felt sick. The Solinari were a delicate species covered in beautiful feathers. Their skin was thin and sensitive. Acid burns would be devastating. Ben stood up. I want to see them. Dr. Aldridge, our medical team, is already preparing palliative care. There's nothing we can do for Nethrak burns except manage pain. Maybe there's nothing you can do, Ben said. But I grew up on a planet full of acid. I've been burned before. I've treated burns before. Let me look. Orinth hesitated. He looked at the Death World database, still glowing on his screen. All those impossible facts about human biology. All those deadly substances that humans handled without fear. Churi, he said finally. Go with him. Document everything. Churi grabbed her datapad and followed the human out of the office. Her hearts were pounding. She didn't know what Ben could possibly do against Nethrak acid. No one had ever stopped it. But then again, no one had ever casually dripped acid into their own eyes and called it soothing. They rushed through the corridors toward the medical bay. Staff members pressed themselves against walls as the human passed. Word had spread. Everyone knew what he was, what he could survive. Dr. Aldridge, Churi said as they walked. Do you really think you can help them? Ben didn't slow down. On Earth, we learned something important about acid a long time ago. What? That the thing that burns, you can also be the thing that saves you. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. He glanced at her. Or in this case, acid with acid. Churi didn't understand, but she was about to learn. Screaming filled the emergency medical bay. The sound was thin and high, the kind of pain that came from somewhere beyond words. Churi forced herself to keep walking even though every instinct told her to run. The Solinari victims lay on treatment beds, their beautiful feathers burned away in patches. The acid wounds glowed an angry red, still spreading slowly across their skin. Medical staff worked frantically, applying neutralizing agents that did nothing. Standard treatments that failed completely. Most of the doctors had already given up. They stood at the edges of the room, preparing pain medication and sedatives. The only mercy they could offer, Ben Aldridge walked straight to the nearest patient. A young Solinari female, barely adult by her species standards. Half her face was melted. She whimpered when she saw him approach. Don't be afraid, he said softly. I'm going to help you. The head physician, a Kalori named Drass, stepped forward. Dr. Aldridge, there's nothing to be done. Nethrak acid contains a compound that prevents neutralization. It keeps burning until it exhausts itself. All we can do is manage their pain until... He didn't finish. Ben ignored him. He pulled on protective gloves and leaned close to the wound. Churi watched him smell it. Actually smell the acid that was eating this poor girl's face. Hydrofluoric base, Ben materd. Modified with some kind of organic catalyst. Clever. Keeps the reaction going. He looked at Drass. What neutralizing agents have you tried? Everything. Standard alkaline solutions, specialized burn treatments, even experimental compounds. Nothing works because you're using the wrong approach. Ben straightened up. You're trying to neutralize the acid directly, but the catalyst regenerates the reaction. You need to attack the catalyst first. How? With a different acid. The room went quiet. Even the wounded seemed to pause in their suffering. You want to put more acid on them? Drass sounded horrified. They're already dying from acid. Different acids do different things. Ben was already moving toward the chemical storage. On Earth, we learned that some acids cancel out others. It's called competitive inhibition. The right acid will bond with the catalyst and stop the reaction permanently. Churi followed him. What acid do you need? Ben scanned the shelves of medical chemicals. Citric acid, acetic acid, something organic and mild. Do you have anything like that? We have some compounds from food preservation, Churi said. but we never use them in medicine. They're too dangerous. Dangerous to you, not to them. Ben grabbed several bottles. The nethrac acid is fluorine-based. Carbon acid should bond with the catalyst and neutralize the whole reaction. It will sting, but it won't kill. He carried the chemicals back to the treatment area. Every doctor in the room watched him with fear and disbelief. He was about to pour acid on burn victims. It seemed like madness. Ben mixed the compounds carefully, diluting them with sterile water. His hands were steady. He had done this before, Churi realized. Maybe not exactly this, but something like it. On his deadly homeworld. I need a small test area, he said to the burned Solinari girl. Just a tiny spot. If it works, I'll treat the rest. If it doesn't, I'll stop immediately. Do you understand? The girl nodded weakly. She had nothing to lose. Ben applied a single drop of his mixture to the edge of her wound. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the wound hissed. Steam rose from the contact point. The girl cried out in pain. Churi reached for Ben's arm. Stop! You're hurting her! But Ben held up his hand. Wait! Look! The treated spot had stopped glowing. The angry red color faded to pink. The spreading edge of the burn halted completely. For the first time since the attack, the acid stopped eating her flesh. It worked, Drass whispered. By the stars, it actually worked. Ben didn't celebrate. He was already treating more of the wound, working methodically across the girl's face. Steam rose with each application. The girl gritted her teeth against the pain. But she was not dying anymore. Churi, Ben said without looking up. I need you to mix more of this solution. Same proportions. We have 11 more patients. Churi rushed to comply. Her hands shook as she measured the acids, these substances that would kill her if she made a single mistake. But she was a medical student. She had taken an oath to heal. Fear did not excuse her from that duty. The night became a blur of steam and pain and desperate hope. Ben worked without rest, treating wound after wound. Other doctors slowly joined in once they saw the results, following Ben's careful instructions. Even Drass, who had declared the victims hopeless, rolled up his sleeves and learned to handle the acids. By morning, all 12 Solinari were stable. The burns had stopped spreading. Healing could finally begin. Ben sat in a corner of the medical bay, exhausted. His gloves were melted in places where the acids had splashed. Churi brought him water and sat beside him. How did you know? She asked. How did you know it would work? Ben sipped his water slowly. Because humans have been burned by acid for thousands of years. We learned to stop it. We learned to treat it. We turned our knowledge of poison into medicine. He smiled tiredly. That's what Death World species do. We make friends with the things that try to kill us. Outside the medical bay, word was spreading. The human had done the impossible. He had defeated nethrac acid. Churi did not know it yet, but that word would spread far beyond the station, all the way to ears that would not be pleased. 2 weeks after the rescue, Churi found Ben in the recovery ward teaching the Solinari children a human game with paper cards. He folded the papers into shapes. Animals, she thought, though she did not recognize them. The children laughed for the first time since their ordeal. Ben looked tired. Dark circles under his eyes. His hands trembled slightly when he wasn't focused on them. He had been working too hard, treating patients, training other doctors, writing reports about his acid neutralization technique. He refused to rest. But that was not what worried Churi most. She had noticed the shadow. For 3 days now, someone had been watching Ben. A figure that moved through the station's corridors just a step behind him. Tall, thin, wrapped in a hooded cloak that hid its features. Every time Churi tried to get a closer look, it vanished around a corner. She was about to warn Ben when the shadow stepped into the light. The creature pulled back its hood. Churi felt her stomachs clench with fear and nethrac. The alien skin was slick and gray, covered in small pores that oozed moisture. Its eyes were solid black, reflecting no light. A long tongue flickered between narrow lips. But the worst part was the scars. Deep grooves across its face and neck where acid had burned its own flesh. Self-inflicted marks of rank among its people. Dr. Ben Aldridge, the nethrac, said. Its voice was wet, gurgling. I am called Sliven. I have traveled far to meet you. The Solinari children scrambled behind Ben, their healing faces pale with terror. Ben stood slowly, placing himself between them and the visitor. "I know what you are," Ben said calmly. "What do you want?" "Only to talk." Slivin moved closer. Each step left a faint, sizzling mark on the floor. Acid leaked from its feet. "News has reached my people. A human who defeats our weapons. A human who commands acid as we do. This is very interesting. I don't command anything. I'm a doctor. A doctor who uses acid to heal." Slivin's tongue flickered again. "My people use acid to destroy. But destruction and healing are two sides of the same blade. Yes? You understand acids in ways no other species does. You understand us. What do you want?" Ben repeated. Slivin reached into its cloak and produced a small data chip. "The Nethrak Collective offers you wealth, resources, protection, anything you desire. In exchange, you join us as a weapon consultant. Teach us what you know. Help us improve our methods. You wanted to help you burn more innocent people. We wanted to help us burn people more efficiently." Slivin said this without shame. "Your knowledge could make our acid unstoppable. No cure, no treatment, pure distraction." Ben stared at the creature for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "No. You refuse." Slivin seemed genuinely surprised. "We offer you everything. You offer me the chance to help you torture and kill. I became a doctor to save lives, not to end them." The Nethrak's black eyes narrowed. "Perhaps you do not understand your position. You are alone here. One human on a station of weak species. If we wanted to take you, nothing could stop us. Then take me." Ben's voice was flat. "See what happens." Slivin hissed. It raised one hand, and acid dripped from specialized glands in its palm. The drops fell onto a nearby metal table. The metal bubbled and melted, leaving smoking holes. "This acid would strip the flesh from your bones," Slivin said. "Even you could not survive it." Ben did not flinch. "I grew up on Earth. Do you know what Earth is? A planet where volcanoes spray sulfuric acid into the air, where hot springs boil with acids that would dissolve your entire species, where humans mine chemicals so dangerous that a single drop kills instantly." He took a step towards Slivin. "You think your acid scares me? I played in worse as a child." The Nethrak stepped back. For the first time, uncertainty crossed its scarred face. "My people will not accept refusal," Slivin said. "We always get what we want, one way or another. Then come and get me." Slivin stared at Ben. Then slowly it pulled it back up. "You will regret this decision, human. My people do not forget, and we do not forgive." The Nethrak turned and walked out of the recovery ward. Acid dripped from its cloak, leaving a smoking trail on the floor. Churi rushed to Ben's side. "Are you insane? You just threatened the Nethrak. They'll come for you." Ben knelt down to comfort the frightened Solinari children. "Probably. They don't seem like the type to take no for an answer." "What are we going to do?" "We're going to prepare." Ben looked up at her, and for the first time, Churi saw something hard in his eyes. Something dangerous. "I told you, Churi. On Earth, we learn to make friends with the things that try to kill us. We also learned something else." "What?" "How to make those things kill our enemies instead." That night, station sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They surrounded Harmony, 7 in a loose formation. Their hulls were scarred and pitted, marked with acid burns like badges of honor. "Nethrak warships." Commander Orntha's voice came over the station intercom. "All personnel, this is not a drill. We are surrounded. The Nethrak are demanding we surrender the human." Ben listened to the announcement calmly. Then he turned to Churi. "How much acid does this station have in storage?" Churi smiled grimly. "I think we're about to find out." Alarms screamed through every corridor of Station Harmony 7. Red emergency lights painted the walls in bloody colors. Somewhere in the distance, Churi heard bulkheads sealing, trapping people in whatever section they happened to be in. She ran beside Ben through the chaos, clutching a data pad with the station's chemical inventory. 12 Nethrak ships surrounded them. Boarding pods were already launching from the enemy fleet. They had maybe 20 minutes before the pirates breached the hull. "This is insane," Churi gasped as they rounded a corner. "We're a medical station. We don't have weapons. We can't fight them." Every chemical is a weapon if you know how to use it, Ben said. He wasn't even breathing hard. Humans and their ridiculous endurance. What do we have? Churi scrolled through the inventory. Medical acids, cleaning compounds, sterilization chemicals. Nothing that could hurt a Nethrak. They're immune to most caustic substances, immune to their own acids, not immune to everything. Ben stopped at a supply closet and started pulling containers off shelves. What about bases? Alkaline compounds. Some. Sodium hydroxide for cleaning. Calcium hydroxide for water treatment. Perfect. Ben loaded chemicals into a cart. What about gases? Anything we can aerosolize? Churi found the listing. Chlorine for the water systems. Ammonia for industrial cleaning. But those are poisonous to everyone, including us. Not in low concentrations. And not if we dilute them right. Ben grinned. It was not a reassuring expression. On Earth, we have something called acid rain. Polluted water that falls from the sky. It burns plants, corrodes metal, damages lungs. Humans survive it. Most species don't. You want to make artificial acid rain? Inside the station? Not exactly. I want to make something worse. They reached the Environmental Control Center. The door was locked, but Churi had emergency medical access. Inside, the station's life support systems hummed quietly, completely unaware that a battle was about to begin. Ben studied the control panel. I can inject a chemical mixture into the ventilation system, concentrated near the hull breach points. When a Nethrak board, they'll walk into a cloud of corrosive gas. Won't that hurt our own people? The mixture I'm planning will irritate human lungs. Mild discomfort. For Nethrak, Ben started connecting chemical containers to the ventilation intake. Their respiratory systems are designed to filter out their own acid fumes. They've evolved specifically for that, but they haven't evolved for chlorine compounds. It'll burn them from the inside out. Churi watched him work. Her hands shook, but she helped where she could, passing tools, checking connections. She was a medical student. She was supposed to heal people. Now she was helping build a chemical weapon. Is this right? She asked quietly. Using medicine to kill. Ben paused. His face was serious. They came here to take me. To use my knowledge to hurt more innocent people. If I let them win, everything I've done becomes a tool for murder. He met her eyes. Sometimes protecting the innocent means destroying the guilty. I don't like it, but I accept it. The first explosion shook the station. Nethrak boarding pods had penetrated the hull. They're inside. Commander Orntha's voice crackled over the comm. All personnel retreat to safe zones. Repeat, retreat to safe zones. We're out of time. Ben finished his connections and activated the system. The gas will start flowing in 30 seconds. It'll concentrate at the breach points first, then spread through the compromised sections. What about the people still in those sections? I'm using a compound that dissipates quickly. If they hold their breath and run, they'll be fine. If they're Nethrak, Ben grabbed 2 small spray bottles from his cart. They'll die screaming. They left the control center and headed toward the nearest breach point. Churi could already smell something sharp in the air. Her eyes watered. Her throat burned slightly. The Nethrak were worse off. She heard them before she saw them. Wet, gurgling screams echoed through the corridor. The boarding party had walked straight into Ben's trap. Gray bodies writhed on the floor, clawing at their faces, their mouths, their burning lungs. Ben stepped over them calmly. He held his spray bottle ready. A Nethrak lunged at him from a doorway, acid dripping from its hands. Ben sprayed it directly in the face. The creature shrieked and collapsed, its skin bubbling where the liquid hit. What's in that bottle? Churi demanded. Concentrated lemon juice with some added compounds. Ben kept walking. Citric acid, harmless to humans. Agonizing to Nethrak. Their skin isn't designed for organic acids. The battle was short and brutal. The Nethrak boarding parties, so confident in their acid immunity, had no defense against Ben's chemical warfare. The gas weakened them. The spray bottles finished them. Within an hour, every invader on the station was dead or dying. Churi found Ben afterward, sitting against a wall in a damaged corridor. His arms were covered in burns where his protective gear had failed. Acid had splashed through gaps in his clothing. The wounds were red and angry. "You're hurt," she said. Ben looked at his arms and laughed weakly. "It stings a little. Nothing too bad. Those burns would have killed any other species on the station." For Ben, there were minor inconveniences. The comm crackled. "Nethrak fleet is retreating," Orinth announced. "They're running." "We did it." Shuri sat down beside Ben. "You saved us." "We saved us." Ben closed his eyes. "I just knew which chemicals to use." "You mixed them." Orinth coordinated the defense. "Everyone played their part. But you're the one who could touch the acid." Ben smiled. "That's what Death World species are for. We handle the things nobody else can." 97 students sat in the lecture hall, representing 30 different species from across the galaxy. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had skin that glowed faintly in the dim light. All of them watched the stage with nervous anticipation. Churi stood at the podium, her data pad trembling slightly in her hands. Behind her, a holographic banner read, "Death World Medicine Initiative, Year 1. 3 months had passed since the Nethrak attack. 3 months since word spread across the sector that a single human doctor had defeated an entire pirate fleet using nothing but medical chemicals. The story had grown in the telling. Some versions claimed Ben had fought the Nethrak with his bare hands. Others said he had drunk acid like water and breathed fire at his enemies. The truth was stranger. And more important, "Welcome to the first class of the Death World Medicine Program," Churi said. Her voice was stronger than she expected. "My name is Dr. Churi. I am a Pelori physician and researcher. And 6 months ago, I watched a human put acid in his eyes." Nervous laughter rippled through the audience. "I screamed." Churi continued. "I thought he was dying. I thought he was insane. I was wrong on both counts." She clicked her data pad, and images appeared on the screen behind her. Molecular diagrams, chemical formulas, human biology charts. What I witnessed was the beginning of a revolution in galactic medicine. She walked them through the science. Human acid tolerance, the pH of human stomach acid, the compounds humans applied to their skin without harm. The students took frantic notes, their expressions shifting from fear to fascination. Then she told them about the Nethrak attack, about the Solinari victims, about Ben's impossible cure. "For centuries, we believed Nethrak acid burns were untreatable," Churi said. "We were wrong. The treatment existed all along. We just didn't have the knowledge to see it, or the courage to try it." The door at the back of the hall opened. Ben walked in, still wearing his medical coat. His arms bore faint scars from the battle, marks he could have removed but chose to keep. "Reminders," he said, "of what he was capable of." He joined Churi on stage to scattered applause. "Dr. Aldridge developed the Nethrak burn treatment," Churi said. "He also created the chemical defense system that saved this station. And he has agreed to lead our new research team." "Don't give me too much credit," Ben said. "I just did what any human would do. I used the tools available to solve a problem." A young Bravani student raised a hand. Her scales were pale blue, freshly molted. "Dr. Aldridge, I have a question. Why aren't humans afraid of acids? How can you touch things that kill the rest of us?" Ben considered the question. "We are afraid. We feel pain. Acids burn us too, just differently than they burn you. The difference is that we grew up surrounded by dangerous chemicals. Our whole planet is filled with them. We had no choice but to learn to live with them." "But how?" the student pressed. "How do you live with something that can kill you? You study it. You understand it. You respect it." Ben reached into his pocket and pulled out a small bottle. The same eye drops that had started everything. "This bottle contains a substance that would blind most of you instantly. To me, it's medicine. The only difference is knowledge and adaptation." He tucked the bottle away. "The galaxy sees humans as dangerous. Deathworlders, monsters who survive impossible conditions. But we're not monsters. We're students. We spent millions of years learning how to coexist with the things that wanted to kill us. Now, we get to share those lessons. This program exists because of what happened here," Churi said. "But it's bigger than one battle. We're going to study Deathworld biology, human chemistry, the medicines and treatments that seem impossible to other species. And we're going to use that knowledge to save lives." The lecture continued for another hour. Students asked questions. Ben answered with patience and humor. Shuri watched her mentor, her friend, her colleague, and felt something she hadn't expected: pride. After the class ended, they stood together in the empty hall. The holographic banner flickered above them. "You did well," Ben said. "Natural teacher. I learned from the best." Shuri paused. "Do you ever regret it? Coming here? Everything that happened?" Ben thought about it. The fear he had caused. The battles he had fought. The scars he carried. "No," he said finally. "I came here to help people. That's what I did. Just not the way I expected. And the Nethrak? They'll remember what happened. They'll want revenge. Probably." Ben shrieked. "But now the galaxy knows. Humans aren't just survivors. We're protectors. We take the things that kill and we turn them into tools for healing. That's worth any revenge." Shuri smiled. "You really aren't afraid of anything, are you?" Ben laughed and pulled out his eye drops. He tilted his head back and squeezed 2 drops into each eye, blinking casually. The same action that had once made Shuri scream in terror. Now, she just rolled her eyes. "Fear keeps you alive," Ben said. "But knowledge keeps you free. Humans learned that a long time ago. And now," he looked at the banner, at the empty seats that would soon fill with students eager to learn. "Now we get to teach the rest of the galaxy." Shuri nodded. She finally understood. The acid that dissolved bones could also heal them. And the Deathworlders who frightened everyone could also protect them. That was the lesson worth learning.